With nearly double the torque of the base Jetta, the Jetta TDI is a little brute of a machine. After the diesel scandal, it became an even better buy, and I'll tell you why. This generation Jetta ran from 2011 till 2017. The TDI in particular went from 2011 to 2015. Now, everybody knows about that Dieselgate thing that happened with Volkswagen failing emissions and cheating them. The Jetta here was a buyback. Volkswagen bought back all of their Jettas and all of their other TDI products, fixed the emissions part, and then resold them with a hefty warranty. So that's what this model is right here. Now, the Jettas all kind of look the same with the TDIs and stuff. They did offer a sport wagon model, which kind of gave you extra cargo capabilities in a different look overall. Either way, it's very handsome. There's nothing really going on with it. It's subtle, clean, not super sharp or anything from really any angle. There's nothing racy about it. A lot of people like it though, just because it's understated. I do wish it was a little bit sportier, like the GLI trim that was out that kind of had that GTI engine.
The GLI spices the Jetta up without looking comical, but I do like the practical 5-spoke 16-inch alloy rims on this model. They have a traditional look and the wheels have enough sidewall that most potholes won't wreak havoc on the rims.
Coming around back, this is probably my least favorite part of it just because, I don't know, it looks like really shrunken down and just almost too basic. But I would like people to take note at how small this thing kind of looks because the inside is a different story. It's a Jetta. It's big, it's basic, it's built very well.
Cheap plastics plague a lot of the interior, as it does in most small cars of this era. Soft touch materials are not present anywhere but where the elbows rest, and the touchscreen interface reminds me of how far VW has moved in tech.
It's kind of slow. You don't get Bluetooth audio with your phone. You do get an aux cord. There's like 5 blank switches here.
However, you do get heated seats, one-touch up and down windows all around, leather seating, and a crisp 9-speaker Fender audio system. As nice as those amenities are, the feature that separates the VW from other small cars is the feeling you get from interacting with it.
You get nice knobs and switches that they have a satisfying movement to them.
The straightforward, cheap interior at least feels durable and well put together, but where it truly shines is its size.
This is a big car. So, right here I'm comfortable. You can see. If I get up and move to the back seat, my knees aren't even touching here. I am a little bit short on headroom, but for a short trip, if I slouch down a little bit, I'll be fine. And for being 6'3", this is pretty decent. You also get this kind of, it's weird, but you get an unlock and lock button back here on the center console along with a 12-volt outlet and a pass-through to the trunk and like 2.5 cup holders, which is also kind of odd. Comfort back here, it's a back seat. You don't get too much thigh support, of course. I mean, a little bit bigger than who should be riding back here, but you still get soft touch on both the left and right elbow on the armrest.
It's a small car, so thigh support in the back is not great, but most can live with it easily. Regardless, the Jetta has the most passenger space out of any small sedan I've been in from the era, and that space extends to the trunk too.
The Jetta does pass the trunk test, and you might not be able to see it, but it goes back pretty far. As far as driving dynamics goes, this Jetta is going to be a little bit special compared to the regular Jettas. Now, The standard Jetta had 115 horsepower from a 2-liter naturally aspirated engine, and it made 125 pound-feet of torque, which doesn't sound like much, and it really wasn't. Now, I've driven the regular one. I don't think it's quite as bad as those numbers might make you think, but it isn't good.
Thankfully, the model I have here is the 2-liter diesel. With only 140 horsepower, you might think it still lacks some ponies, but what it does have is 236 pound-feet of torque, and it's available at merely 1750 RPM. Now, I will explain this as simple as I can, but torque is the actual rotational force provided by the engine at a given point in time. And power is the product of torque multiplied by RPM in a formula that I don't understand all too well. So what that means is, in order to achieve high power with not so much torque, like my Civic Si or a lot of high-revving Ferrari V8s, the engine must be able to spin very fast. This Jetta is the opposite and makes its peak power at only 4,000 RPM, like a big diesel truck, because it doesn't need to spin fast to make power due to its large amount of torque.
But what that translates to in this particular model, the TDI, means that I can be revving maybe just 2,000 RPMs right here in 4th gear, and if I plan it, I'm actually going to accelerate. And it also means that the engine doesn't need to spin very fast to do most of its work, which means that there's less friction, which also entails that you get better gas mileage, which is why TDIs were known for good emissions.
When this car came out, the EPA originally said it got 42 mpg on the highway, but many have reported better real-world mileage. Even the EPA's own driver MPG page said it got more than their rating, which was already 5 miles more per gallon than the weak 2-liter base engine.
So, you get it. The TDI gives you lots of power and lots of power down low. It's a unique driving experience, and it gives you good gas mileage at the same time. While making it quicker than the standard Jetta, and it's why I highly recommend it. And you also can't move around that reliability factor, because diesels typically are a little bit more reliable, and in this case, it is no different. I saw a TDI come in with 271,000 miles, and it was like this model. So this person just drove it a ton, and it doesn't look like they drove it easy because that thing was beat up. Now you even get a warranty with any of these Jettas that have been bought back.
The term is either 10 years, 120,000 miles, or if your car is already high mileage, 4 years, 48,000 miles. For some reason, the manual transmission models get an additional 6 months or 6,000 miles. The warranty on the Jetta TDI is not traditional. It covers most of the engine, like the crankcase, head gasket, bearings, pistons, and whatnot, but it doesn't cover things like the timing belt or AC. It does cover the turbo, any diesel components like glow plugs or special exhaust filtration. Obviously, it covers anything related to the emissions equipment, along with the intake system, a whole host of different sensors, and the list goes on. Transmission is not covered, but enough things are covered that this warranty is certainly an incentive to buy a used TDI.
Cars.com also had a range of 88% to 97% satisfaction, or would you recommend this to your friend? So that's pretty good. A comparable number would be the Honda Civic in 2013 had 92% satisfaction. The reason why I compare those two is because people are actually, just as satisfied as they are with their Civics as they are with their Jettas.
As I was scrolling through the negative consumer reviews on Cars.com, I noticed that when people had issues, the electrical system was the usual suspect. So you should check for electric and wiring issues in previous repairs if you can before buying.
So on a whole, I'm going to say that it's reliable, and that warranty is going to definitely reassure me. Now, the 6-speed, I got to talk about it. I definitely do. There's a DSG for a price premium, usually. The DSG is a great transmission. I have no problem with it. Shifts lightning quick. The reliability with them has been pretty rock solid. And it really just comes down to preference when you're coming into this used car market. Do you like the manual or do you like the DSG? Well, I'll tell you right now, Volkswagen does not do a perfect job with their manual transmissions.
Its long and light clutch makes it a relatively easy car to drive, but it doesn't offer much in terms of feedback. The long-throwing featherweight shifter goes into gear smooth, without feeling too vague, but it requires such little effort that it almost feels like a simulation of a shifter than an actual one. Overall, it's far from being my favorite manual transmission, but it definitely gets the job done.
Honestly, unless you're a holdout like me who just likes manuals, you're probably going to think the DSG is better. But there's definitely no reason to not buy the manual, because it is easy to drive. So if you see one at a good price and it happens to be a manual, snag it up. But we'll give it a quick 0 to 60 here. A lot of torque here, not very much horsepower. We'll see what happens. No point in revving it past 4,000, but I'm gonna go to 4,500 anyway. Car and Driver rated it at 8 seconds. This car isn't about speed. It's not. It's about like just that torque, passing power. You know, you're just coming around these corners, you're in a low gear, you can just get on the gas and it'll go. I'm crawling up a hill right now at 1,500 RPMs in 4th gear. And it's fine. It's insane. It's maybe for truck buyers or people that are usually in diesel equipped vehicles, this is just not going to shock you very much, but when you're used to small cars and how they drive, and then you get into a Jetta and drive it, I think you'll be really surprised. And if you're interested in this car, or the Jetta in general, TDI, way to go, man. I'll just tell you that. Ride quality is good. Now, it runs over these bumps. It's not as good as the new 2019 Force that I drove, but I mean, nobody was expecting it to be. But as far as small cars go, compared to my 07 Civic, compared to, say, the Saab 9.3 that I drove, this is definitely on par with those. They're better than the Civic. Definitely on par with the 9.3 and the S60 that I drove. I think this rides pretty well. There is a little bit more noise than there was in the S60. The 9.3 was pretty loud. Mainly from that road noise. It's not perfectly quiet.
In 2014, the Jetta was re-gifted with independent suspension. But even without it, this Jetta rides well. But if you live in an area with really bad roads, a post-2013 model might be worth the extra cash. Moving on, the seats are bolstered well in the seat backs, but are rather weakly bolstered on the seat bottoms and don't offer lumbar adjustment. But they do offer decent support even for me. Suspension and seats considered, I see this being a good road trip partner.
Now we'll get it into some better corners, and let's just see how she does. Man, it's so different going fast through corners and actually having torque, like just available like that. I can be in 4th, go 2,000 RPMs, and pull myself out of a corner. Car handles solid. I'm confident with the steering. I do wish it just was a little bit more responsive. The body roll is definitely evident going through here, but I can manage with it. This is not a car that you're going to be wanting to bring to some back roads to tear it up. It's just not. It's a car that if you happen to go through a back road, you can have a little bit of fun with. But
responsiveness is my biggest complaint with it. The steering isn't as direct as it is in some newer VWs, and the body roll makes it feel more dramatic. To be fair, most of its competition has issues with things like body roll and responsive steering, but I usually enjoy VW handling, but I just don't here. The diesel engine torque makes it a different experience though, so I can't say I'm bored behind the wheel because it makes me laugh every time I open the throttle.
I almost bought this car. I almost bought a Jetta TDI very similar to this at the same time I was buying my Honda Civic Si. Now it was a little bit more expensive, but I was willing to pay the extra bit if it was better, because it had lower mileage than my car did, and I got better gas mileage. It was a manual. They handle pretty solid, and that TDI is reasonably reliable. So with 50,000 miles less and a good warranty and still manual transmission, why didn't I buy it? Well, the reason for me was it lacked that extra bit of life. It's like, believe me, this has some soul because of that, unique powertrain. That's cool, but
The steering and transmission just felt bland, especially next to the Civic Si. While I was by no means expecting the Jetta to feel like the Si, I was hoping there would be more of a connection between the driver and car than there really was.
But most people aren't going to care about the connection, and for that, this is a good car. I wish it did have that extra bit of spice, but it doesn't. Except, let's think about it. It's comfortable, it's reliable, it's kind of quick, it's economical, it's big, and it looks okay. I think it hits most of the marks that people are looking for. This is a great car. With that warranty, you might even have less worries than you would in a Civic or a Corolla. Maybe not a Corolla, but you'd have less worries than a Civic.
The Jetta TDI doesn't stir up much emotion, but I still recommend it. It's an interesting yet practical package that has become a solid choice in the $10,000 used car range. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe to receive my content as soon as it comes out, and I'll see you then. I'd also like to give a huge thanks to Royal on the East Side for sponsoring this video. Royal on the East Side is a dealership in Bloomington, Indiana. They have a diverse selection of vehicles, and the sales staff are honest, respectful, and knowledgeable about their products. If you're looking at new or used vehicles, you should check them out.